Okay, so for our second segment here, we'll move forward with what we've done and build on our first couple programs here. So to recap, our last program we wrote was how to solicit two numbers from the end user and add them together. So let's kind of continue on with this path here. And I'm going to come in here and we'll put in another comment. And the program we're going to make now, this program will allow the user to multiply two numbers. All right. So again, the perk of being able to program in an iterative fashion is I know to add two numbers or to multiply two numbers that the same thing is going to hold true, right? I still need to solicit two numbers from the end user. So again, I can just grab what I did up here, come down here, populate it here. I know that I need to tell the computer to do something with those. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my line of code here from line 24 that's summarized, put that there, and I named that variable sum since that's, textbook what we call it when I add things together. When I multiply, if you remember, we call that a product. So I'm going to change that to product. And then instead of addition, I'm going to tell the program to multiply. Okay, so far that all looks good. And then now I'm going to grab my third line of code, come down here, and I need to change a couple things here. So instead of the sum, I need to say the product. Number one, number two, that holds true, but then I also named my variable product as well. Okay, so that looks good. So now I'm going to select my text. I'm going to run that text. And here we can see it says enter my first number. So let's multiply, let's say 5 times 6, and it returns the product of 30. Okay, so now I've got a program that solicits those values from the user. There you go. All right, so while that's a little more effective program, let's continue to build on this a little bit more. So let's actually solve a real business problem here. Okay, so this program we're going to call luggage weight. Okay, and most of you have probably flown before, and you know that when you fly, one of the big things that you're required to do is they weigh your luggage, and they determine if your luggage is past a certain weight, then you have to pay extra for that. Okay, so we know that we need to make this program work, we need to capture the weight of your luggage. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say weight equals, and I'm going to put in a 0. But I want to pause for just a moment. As we're starting to, work on coding here, you'll notice that as I've been typing, if I pause for a moment, you'll see that I get these little icons that show up here, either the triangle or the circle that's red with an X through it. And what's happening is Python is evaluating my expression as I type it. And as I pause, it tells me I don't have a complete statement here. So don't get caught up with that as you start to program. If you pause to think like most sane, logical people do, just don't look over to the left until you're done with a given line of code. Okay, so I'm going to start with a variable called weight, and I'm going to set it equal to 0. And then now I'm going to come in here and I need to collect the weight from the end user. And in this case, my end user in this scenario would probably be a gate agent, right, that's weighing your bag. Okay, so I'm going to say float, and then I'm going to use the input command like I used up above. And then I'm going to say, how much does this bag weigh? Okay, close quote. All right, so now I'm soliciting that information from the user. Okay, now we know that with most airlines, I have two courses of action, right? If the bag weighs under a certain amount, I usually get that for free. But if it crosses a certain threshold, I'm charged more money, right? So my program will take one of two actions: either tell the customer they owe an additional fee, or simply say you're okay, right? So this is where we'll introduce what's called the if statement. And if you go back to your Excel class, you did this in Excel under logical operators, where you looked at if one thing is true, do this; if another thing is true, do that. So we're simply going to recreate that in our code. Okay, so we're simply going to say if our weight is greater than 50, okay, we want to take one course of action. Okay, so if it's greater than 50, I want to tell the user this. There, get my capitalization right, there is a $75 charge for an overweight bag. Okay, so that's the first message I want to display to the user, and then I want to be nice. So the other thing I'm going to display to them is thank you for your business. Okay, so that's one course of action. Okay, my other course of action, my else parameter, is a little more straightforward. So if their bag is under 50 pounds, then I'm just simply going to do this and say, thank you for your business. And I got to put this in quotes. As you can see, I'm getting my red indicator. It's going, hang on, you missed something. We'll see that go away now. All right. So again, if we talk through this, I collect the weight from the end user. If it is greater than 50 pounds, I notify the user that there is a charge. If it's under 50 pounds, I simply thank them for their business. Okay, so I'm going to select my text of lines of code here, and I'm going to execute it. So here it's going to say, how much does the bag weigh? Now for this program, since I have two possible paths, I need to test it twice. So the first thing I'm going to test it with is my first condition, a bag over 50 pounds. So I'm going to say my bag is 80 pounds. Maybe I packed a whole lot of stuff. I put in 80, and sure enough, it says there is a charge for an overweight bag. Okay, so now I'm going to stop my program execution, and I'm going to run the code again. Okay, so in doing that, here's my code again. How much does the bag weigh? This time I'm going to say it's only 45 pounds. And there we go. It thanks me for my business. Okay, so here we go. The code has executed as expected. Okay, and it worked. All right. Okay, so that wraps up lesson 2 in Python for us.